Velazquez's little painting of the garden of the Villa Medici is revolutionary in two ways. First, it is one of the earliest plein-air paintings ever made, and second, it has no narrative. These two factors drove Velazquez to rethink the whole business of painting. What is it that painting can do, for the artist and for the viewer, that cannot be done in any other way? In tackling this question, he produced one of the first truly modern paintings. While staying at the Villa Medici in Rome, Velazquez took his paints out into the gardens and made a painting on the spot. While this seems ordinary enough nowadays, it was practically unheard of in the early 17th century. The painting was made in one go, alla prima, blended wet into wet, unlike conventional studio practice, where successive veils of paint would be patiently built up over weeks and months. In contrast, all Velazquez's decisions were made there and then, and there was no revision later. Possibly because of this, the picture was very thinly painted, and the bare canvas is still visible in places, like the panels beneath the balustrade, where the weave of the canvas shows through as the rough texture of the wall where the render has flaked off. Working alla prima recorded the movements of Velazquez's hand, and also their speed, and made them part of the content of the painting. Look at the downward, rapid, undulating strokes that describe the cypress trees. They demonstrate what Michael Podrow called the mind's grasp of things realised in the fluent delineation of them. We see the depicted object in the visible mark. The little highlights that catch the setting sun are the work of a moment and contribute to our sense that the painting itself depicts a particular time. The painting has no narrative, no story. There's nothing in particular happening that Velazquez wants us to see. This prompts the question of what the painting is about. Is it even about anything? It's late afternoon, and two men stand chatting beside a boarded-up arcade at the edge of a formal garden. One of them looks to be holding a string attached to the top of a pillar. Are they taking measurements, perhaps, for the forthcoming repairs? It's possible, but there's not enough information to be certain. Above them, another figure leans over the balustrade and hangs out, or takes in, a white sheet. The light is unsteady. The sun is quite bright on the right of the picture, but peters out as it crosses the path, so the left-hand side looks a bit overcast. Velazquez is not generalising, but particularising. In lieu of a narrative, the painting articulates a web of connections between the various elements of the scene. These connections are varied. There are contrasts, counterpoints, echoes, rhymes, variations, doubles. The balustrade, running almost across the painting, divides it into two parts. Below, mostly brown, is the classical architecture of the arcade and the neatly clipped hedges. Above, mostly green, are the tall cypress trees whose tops reach beyond the picture's edge. The lower part is dominated by horizontals, the upper by verticals. The division of the picture into two suggests further contrasts between nature above and culture below, between the neat symmetry of the Palladian architecture and the irregularity of the improvised planking roughly nailed into place, between the brightness of the sheet as it is unfurled and the darkness at the centre of the boarded-up entrance below, between the whiteness of the laundered sheet and that of the weathered architecture, between the sturdy but invisible tree trunks and the flimsy washing poles. The column on the right of the opening has a dark shadow running along its left edge, but its pair is almost indistinguishable from the planks behind it. At the far right, the statue in its niche is lightly brushed in, but casts a strong shadow, which faces in a different direction, as if two people passed one another on the path. The figure splits and doubles. The painting also generates unlikely relationships, for instance, between the two men dressed in brown on the path and the equally brown but slightly taller statue at the corner of the hedge, turned toward them as if part of the conversation. Painting allows for a slight confusion here, which someone strolling in the garden would not experience, and this in turn allows Velazquez to indulge his humour, to show off his wit. In place of a narrative, the painting responds to the immediacy and particularity of the scene, and forges connections between things and their mode of depiction, and through that, the painting implies the interconnectedness of everything. This is what painters rediscovered in the 19th century, under the pressure of industrialisation and the open market. What would just be contingent in everyday life is remade and becomes necessary and intentional in painting. And this is revolutionary. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and visit my channel Think of a Picture, where you'll find lots more short, thought-provoking videos about art. Thank you.